Sadie's room is now mine. Saying that, Megan smirked with a nasty grin. I felt a strong disgust at her expression. No good wife should live in the warehouse. Joining in Megan's cruel joke, my mother-in-law Abigail and father-in-law Ethan began to drive me out. I thought we were close, but it turns out they're on Megan's side after all. Seeing Abigail and Ethan's nasty smiles, just like Megan's, any familial affection I had for them vanishes. Instead, a strong rage surges within me. All right then, I'll do as you wish. My words delight Megan, Abigail, and Ethan. Turning my back on them, I grab only the essentials and leave the house. They need to be taught a harsh lesson to understand the gravity of their actions. The only person I'm concerned about is Noah, who cared for me until the end. Sometime later, my mobile phone keeps ringing, calls from Abigail and Ethan. But it's not me who answers the phone, it's my husband Kevin. What's going on? The first thing heard is Megan's howling voice. Our house is gone, turned into an empty lot. I am Sadie, a 46-year-old working mother. I grew up in a residential childcare facility. My parents died in a car accident when I was very young, and by then I had no grandparents, siblings, or relatives to take me in. So I ended up in the residential childcare facility. Because of this, I faced bullying at school. I didn't really have close friends. Sadie, let's play together. Yeah, sure. However, I did have friends at the residential childcare facility. The older ones taught me various things, and the younger ones adored me. Just having these friends from the residential childcare facility made me feel truly happy. Then, without being adopted by anyone, I graduated from high school and started working immediately. Due to my experience during school, I struggled with social interactions and focused solely on my job. But then, someone outside of my residential childcare facility friends recognized me for the first time. You're doing great every day, Sadie. Your meticulous work makes our job easier. Thank you. That's my husband, Kevin. Kevin approached my work and often praised me. Gradually, we started sharing personal stories, and when I shared my dreams, I want to support you. In fact, I want to be a part of it, he said. With Kevin's encouragement, I worked hard towards my dreams, and within a few years as an adult, I managed to achieve them. Would you, want to go out with me? That's when Kevin confessed his feelings. By that time, I had grown fond of gentle Kevin, and since he was supportive of my dreams, I accepted. Thanks. Now there's something I need to tell you about, Sadie. That's when Kevin told me about his divorce, and that he had a child. So while dating Kevin, I got to meet his daughter, Megan. Megan was adorable, with a constant smile on her face. Sadie, will you be my mom? After meeting a few times, Megan asked me this, and I decided to become Megan's mom. What worried me were Abigail and Ethan. Being from a residential childcare facility, I feared they might see me as poorly raised, deprived of parental love, a pitiful child. I worried they might not approve of my marriage to Kevin. Aren't you lovely? Oh, what a wonderful person. Please take good care of Kevin and Megan. Contrary to my fears, Abigail and Ethan accepted me. I felt I could build a wonderful family with them. Until I got married, I truly believed that. Soon after the wedding, I got pregnant with our son John. I thought we would always live happily. We could overcome any difficulty. I truly believed that until I saw their true colors. Hey Sadie, give me my allowance. Megan, you got your allowance last week, didn't you? That's not nearly enough. Megan, once thought young and adorable, had grown into a twisted personality. She hardly went to school, always out somewhere, and she constantly demanded money. What do you need it for? Explain that first, then I'll decide whether to give it to you. Also, the school called. Make sure you go. Shut up. You're not my real mom, so stop nagging. At those words, I fell silent. Indeed, I'm not Megan's biological mother, but I tried to be there for her as a mother.
Megan, what's that supposed to mean? Sadie has been serious about being your mom, even if she's not blood related.
Kevin scolds Megan in my stead as I fall silent. Whatever, I'm done. Megan?
I'm going to Dad and Mom's, okay? I'll call Dad, so just leave me alone.
Megan storms out, sulking after being scolded by Kevin. I know where she's headed. It's within walking distance, to my in-laws' house. She'll probably head there. Please don't spoil her. Send her back. Before Megan arrives, Kevin calls Abigail and Ethan. However, they dote on Megan and have never heeded Kevin's advice, even once. Megan was abandoned by her real mom, a poor girl.
We want to be her allies, at least,
they say, justifying their indulgence of Megan. But it wasn't like this when I first married into the family. They kept a reasonable distance and occasionally played with Megan. They were just normal grandparents. But their overindulgence began when John was born. The grandparents probably don't like me, John felt, sensing their favoritism, despite John being Kevin's child and their grandson. Megan is the one who's had it tough, and they favored only Megan. They spoiled her with everything she wanted, not just on birthdays or Christmas, but every day, while barely acknowledging John.
John is my child too. If you continue treating him like this and making him sad, we won't support you anymore.
Kevin confronted Abigail and Ethan, leading them to treat both children more equally, at least outwardly. Why are they so fixated on Megan? It's because of Megan's real mom, Kevin's ex-wife. Kevin's ex-wife was very beautiful, you know.
We've known her since she was little. Not that we're saying anything bad about you, Sadie. You're doing great, really.
Please, don't worry about it. Kevin's ex-wife was a childhood friend of Abigail and Ethan and their favorite, so I've heard about her many times, and Kevin's bitter memories of her. Kevin wasn't interested in romance back then and saw her only as a good friend. But under pressure from others and strong advances from his ex-wife, they started dating. Then she got pregnant while in college.
That's when the parents told me to take responsibility and marry her.
But his ex-wife was, so to speak, a serial cheater. She had multiple men aside from Kevin and disappeared after leaving baby Megan behind, shortly after quitting college due to her pregnancy. Kevin and Megan's search found her living with a wealthy man she was seeing. They divorced, settling alimony and child support in a lump sum during the divorce proceedings. I do feel sorry for her too, but just pampering her won't really help Megan.
I understand how you feel, Sadie, and actually, you're right.
That's why I had sympathy for Megan and was determined to become her real mom. But after remarrying, she turned against me, saying, "You're not my real mom." Especially when I was pregnant with John, she found it disgusting and even tried to push me down the stairs. Luckily, Kevin was there to save me.
Megan is growing up to be more like her real mom.
Watching Megan, I sigh with a tired and troubled expression. Kevin, it isn't your fault. You're a good dad to both Megan and John. I soothe Kevin, wondering what to do. This situation isn't good for Megan, but moving because of our jobs is difficult, and separating Megan from Abigail and Ethan seems unlikely. What's wrong, you two? John, concerned, approaches us as we're lost in thought. We hastily reassure him that it's nothing and shift our attention to him. That day, Megan stayed at the in-laws' house and didn't return. Time passed and somehow Megan managed to graduate from high school. "I'm leaving home today," Megan suddenly announces, leaving me and of course Kevin shocked. "What's happened all of a sudden?" "I'm pregnant, so I'm leaving." At her words, Kevin's face turns into one of anger. He must be thinking of his ex-wife, who vanished during her student days after becoming pregnant.
Megan, didn't I tell you not to end up like your mother? And yet...
Shut up. What I do is my business.
Fine. If you want to be that way, leave. I disown you, Megan. Don't ever call yourself my daughter again.
Kevin shouts.
That's what I planned from the start,
Megan retorts. She left so easily because, apparently, Abigail and Ethan had been funding her.
I told you not to spoil Megan. And to give her money after she made a mistake? What are you thinking?
Calm down, Kevin. Kevin storms over to Abigail and Ethan's place, and I manage to calm him down. John then looks at Abigail and Ethan.
Megan turned out that way because Grandpa spoiled her. If you cared about her, you should have stopped.
John and Megan were never close. He admired her when they were younger, but soon realized her true nature and distanced himself. After being repeatedly called dark and academically poor by Megan, John was determined to prove her wrong by studying hard. Perhaps because of this, John, still a grade schooler, seems to think like an adult.
I'm glad Grandpa and Grandma didn't like me. It made me grow up properly.
Abigail and Ethan were shocked by John's words. They never imagined John knew they disliked him, much less that he'd be saying disliked was a good thing.
We're sorry. We were wrong.
Then Abigail and Ethan apologized, regretting their overindulgence, thinking it was out of pity.
It's too late for understanding.
Calm down. I soothed Kevin while stroking John's head. But
I'm not a kid. Stop it.
He protests. Looking at him, I realize John might be similar to Kevin. His stern approach to Abigail and Ethan is strikingly similar. The irritation towards Megan seems to vanish, witnessing John's growth. After that, Abigail and Ethan deeply apologized to us and began sending gifts occasionally, maintaining a proper distance. This might lead to mending our relationship eventually.
Sadie, you're so kind.
Kevin smiles, looking slightly troubled by my words. To me, they are among the few who accepted my background from the residential child care facility, apart from Kevin. That's why I wanted to believe in them. Seeing my explanation, Kevin looks thoughtful. Something on your mind?
No, nothing.
He gently shakes his head with a smile.
We continued our peaceful life, keeping a suitable distance with Abigail and Ethan.
John, as he grew, started taking an interest in our work.
I want to do the same work as you, Dad.
Eventually, he expresses such a desire. We support John's dream. Being studious from a young age, John sometimes seeks our guidance. Each time we teach him, and as he grows, his understanding deepens. We could feel John's growth. On the other hand, Megan, after receiving money from Abigail and Ethan, became unable to reach. We don't know where she is now, and have decided to leave it be. Am I heartless?
Not at all. You've done enough, Mom.
Kevin and John reassure me when I voice my concern. I smile and thank them. Even though I say that, I still wonder. I look at old photos. There's Megan smiling. How did it turn out like this? I murmur, looking at Megan's photo. I thought I had been supportive enough. I shouldn't dwell on it forever. Megan will surely live strong wherever she is. Now I focus on John's future. It took years, but I managed to move on. Years passed, and John, once a grade schooler, is now in college.
I've been thinking about my future and decided to move out, maybe near the university.
With that, John starts living independently with his college admission. We visit occasionally, and despite struggling with unfamiliar household chores, he seems to be managing well.
Sadie, can we talk about something?
What is it? Right after John moved out, Kevin approached me with a concern about his parents' house. The house is getting old and needs repairs soon. However, the renovation costs are significant, and Abigail and Ethan can't afford it alone. Why don't we live together then?
Really? Are you sure?
I don't mind. Of course, if you're okay with it. By that time, our relationship with Abigail and Ethan had improved. So we discussed and decided to buy a house where we could live together.
Thank you for suggesting we live together, Sadie. We'll make sure not to trouble you.
True to their word, Abigail and Ethan didn't interfere with us, always notifying us in advance when they wanted to visit our part of the house. We sometimes shared meals, but mostly we continued keeping an appropriate distance. One day, Kevin had to go on a long business trip abroad.
If anything happens, don't hesitate or worry about the time. Just contact me immediately. Don't feel reserved because they're my parents.
I understand, don't worry. Kevin was concerned until the last moment, but I reassured him and saw him off. In reality, my relationship with Abigail and Ethan remained unchanged, each of us not intruding more than necessary. I got busier with work, and my return home became later than before. A month passed, and Kevin was able to focus on his work without worry. Then, unexpectedly,
"It's been a while."
Megan. Megan suddenly appeared at our house, with 4 children in tow.
"You've come back, Megan." "Welcome back, Megan."
Unlike me, startled by this sudden visit, Abigail and Ethan welcomed her with smiles. I later found out that Abigail and Ethan had been in touch with Megan even after she left.
"From today, the kids and I will live here."
Her sudden declaration left me unable to comprehend. Megan, divorced and wayward in her student days, had nowhere else to turn except Abigail and Ethan. Besides, the youngest child was still an infant, so for the time being, Abigail and Ethan decided to take them in.
"What? She left on her own, and now returns without your permission."
I immediately contacted Kevin about Megan. Kevin was furious and said he would return immediately. However, being abroad and entangled with work, returning right away was difficult. Don't worry, for now, they're with Abigail and Ethan, and if anything happens, John can help. Despite reassuring Kevin, Megan's return disrupted our harmonious relationship. Megan continued her usual behavior, leaving her children with Abigail and Ethan and going out daily.
"Sadie, can I ask you for a favor?"
Abigail and Ethan, now elderly, couldn't handle the young children on their own, so I switched to remote work and started taking care of the children during work breaks. Eventually, it became a norm for Abigail and Ethan to leave the children with me, coinciding with Megan's departures.
"I'm sorry for always being a bother."
"It's not your fault, dear. I'm about to start work. Can you manage alone for a while?"
"Yeah, it's fine. Everyone's napping, and I have homework to do."
Fortunately, the oldest, Noah, is a responsible and kind child, actively taking care of his siblings. He helps with household chores, always looking apologetic, making me feel sorry for him and letting him in. It's probably my fault for always accepting them. But the main issue is Megan, who leaves her children and goes out. "Hey, Megan."
"What? No need to raise your voice. I can hear you."
One day, I decided to confront Megan, who had just returned home in the morning. "As a parent, Megan, you should properly take care of your children."
"You're as nagging as ever. Besides, you're living here too, so you should help out more."
Megan's words puzzled me, and I couldn't help but tilt my head in confusion. Apparently, Abigail and Ethan had been complaining to Megan about me not doing enough household chores while living together. Megan's words made me involuntarily glance at Abigail and Ethan. "Is that really true?"
"Absolutely. What does Kevin's wife do? Locking herself in her room, not lifting a finger?"
I was dumbfounded, never having heard such complaints from Abigail and Ethan before. Megan, catching my attention, suddenly exclaimed,
"Oh, that's right."
as if struck by a thought.
"If you can't fulfill your role as a wife, then leave. That way, I can use your room, and with you gone, I can stay in the house without any nuisance. It's a win-win, so leave."
I was bewildered by her words. I felt my anger rising, but noticed Noah watching us from the corner of my eye. I didn't want to argue with Megan in front of Noah. Yet Megan laughed, as if she'd come up with a great idea.
"I'll be taking Sadie's room."
Megan sneered. I felt intense disgust towards her.
"Useless wives should live in the storage room."
Abigail and Ethan, agreeing with Megan, started to drive me out. I thought we had been close, but they were siding with Megan. Seeing Abigail and Ethan's mocking smiles, any familial feelings vanished. Instead, I was filled with rage. "All right, I'll do as you wish." Megan, Abigail, and Ethan were delighted with my words. Turning my back on them, I grabbed the essentials and left. They needed to be taught a lesson about the harsh reality. Only Noah, who cared for me till the end, was my concern. "John, sorry to bother you this early, but can I come over to your apartment?" I contacted John and Kevin and left the house in a cab.
"Welcome, Mom. Make yourself at home."
Sorry for the sudden visit. I then visited John's apartment, where he warmly welcomed me, having been informed.
"What did Dad say?"
"He'll be coming back as soon as he can." A few hours after our conversation, Kevin managed to return and joined us.
"Megan and the parents. I won't forgive them."
"Calm down. I'm not planning to let this go either." We then started strategizing. Firstly, the children. If things remained as they were, Noah and his siblings would be unhappy. We decided to completely separate Megan from Noah and the others. "Understood. You know nothing."
"Got it."
Kevin pretended to be clueless and contacted Abigail and Ethan. He put it on speakerphone so John and I could listen. Initially wary, Abigail and Ethan relaxed once they believed Kevin was unaware.
"Since you seem to be getting along well with Sadie, I was thinking of sending the 3 of you on a trip together. I'll send 3 travel vouchers, so have fun."
Kevin then gifted them a trip. As we anticipated, Abigail and Ethan left the house with Megan, overjoyed to be going on the trip without me. During their absence, Kevin, John, and I returned home.
"Sadie, you're back."
"I'm sorry for worrying you. It's all fine now." At home, a tearful and anxious Noah was holding his siblings. I immediately took the children under my care and started packing their belongings. "Noah, do you know your dad's contact details?"
"Yes, I remember. Can we call Dad?"
"Yes, we can." Fortunately, Noah knew his dad's contact information, so we were able to reach out to Noah's dad. It turns out Noah's dad comes from a wealthy family and chose to divorce Megan after learning about her infidelities.
"Like mother, like daughter, huh?"
Kevin mutters, prompting a wry smile from me. Apparently, Noah's dad had intended to take custody of all the children. However, before the discussions could conclude, Megan disappeared with the kids. He had been searching for them ever since. He was grateful when we contacted him and quickly came to pick up the children.
"Sadie, thank you, and I'm sorry for all the trouble."
Noah repeatedly expressed his gratitude and apologies while looking happily at his siblings going to their dad. We watched them leave with smiles and then got to work. Well, with this, there were no more regrets. "Hello, I have a request." I contacted a real estate agent while Kevin arranged various matters, and John helped with the move. Working together, the house was soon emptied. We completed all necessary procedures and decided to move. I can't wait to see their faces. Laughing at my comment, Kevin and John joined in, curious about the reaction. Sometime later, my mobile phone received numerous calls from Abigail and Ethan. Kevin, not me, answered the phone.
"What's going on?"
Megan's phone was the first thing we heard, full of uproar. Kevin wore an exasperated expression.
"The house is gone, turned into an empty lot."
And that's what she seemed to be saying. It seemed like the call was on speakerphone, as we could hear Abigail and Ethan demanding explanations.
"Explain this. Where are the children?"
"What do you mean by that?"
"What are you talking about? The house was bought by Sadie, paying a monthly mortgage of $2,000. It's Sadie's right to do as she pleases."
"Wait, Dad, Sadie's paying a $2,000 mortgage?"
Megan sounded bewildered, clearly not expecting Kevin's answer. Her tone, previously confident, was now filled with confusion.
"For now, Megan, your mom and dad's belongings have been sent to the apartment. Go there,"
Kevin explained coldly.
"We'll discuss this later at a place of our choosing. Stay quiet until then."
With that, Kevin ended the call. The real game was about to begin. A few days later, we summoned them to a restaurant. A disgruntled Megan arrived, accompanied by Abigail and Ethan, who were trying to appease her. Upon seeing me, Megan glared sharply.
What have you done to our house?
Sitting there, listening to Megan, we couldn't help but feel astounded. Does Megan truly lack any sense of parental responsibility? Shouldn't your first concern be about your children? My words silenced Megan momentarily. Her expression betrayed her realization, seemingly forgotten until now.
Where are the children?
They've been taken in by their dad.
What? Why are you doing things your way?
According to Megan, the children were hers, a means for child support.
It's Megan who's being unreasonable,
Kevin retorted angrily. The attention shifted to Kevin's voice, and Megan fell silent.
Even if they're not related by blood, I tried my best not to turn out like my ex-wife. I never intended to show any less love for John than for Megan. But in the end, Megan turned out just like her mother.
Not related by blood?
Megan mumbles in disbelief at Kevin's words. A revelation even Abigail and Ethan seemed unaware of, judging by their shocked faces. Indeed, Megan wasn't related by blood to Kevin.
Megan is the child of my ex-wife and her affair partner.
That's a lie.
I married, knowing that, taking responsibility upon being told to. I raised Megan, pitied her. Pitied after being abandoned by her parents, hoping she'd live a life different from her mother's, but it was all in vain,
Kevin said. Kevin's words were clear, and it should be noted that he genuinely loved Megan, and had always engaged with her as a father.
Why didn't you tell us?
Why didn't you inform us? To Abigail and Ethan's questions, Kevin directed a cold gaze.
Did you ever seriously listen to what I had to say? You always ignored my opinions after pretending to listen.
Kevin recounted that even if he had claimed Megan wasn't his child, they would have disregarded his words and insisted on his responsibility. I remembered Abigail and Ethan's actions. Despite being told not to spoil Megan, they would agree in the moment, but never change their behavior. Even with John, they tried to show equal affection only after Kevin's intervention, but their neglect was evident. When Megan arrived, they left the children to me, ignoring my work schedule and leaving Noah and the siblings at our doorstep, without trying to understand.
Abigail and Ethan claimed to accept Sadie's background from the residential child care facility, but it seems it was never true. You never thought deeply about it. Sadie was never truly important to you.
It was evident Abigail and Ethan had always prioritized their desire for a daughter, favoring Megan and her mother over me. Abigail and Ethan, avoiding eye contact, seemed to confirm this.
Megan is your responsibility now, so don't ever involve us again. I won't be helping you either.
I feel the same. I can't forgive you for betraying me. As we each expressed our resolution to part ways, Abigail and Ethan hung their heads.
All lies. Sadie couldn't possibly afford a mortgage. It's all fabricated, right?
Megan, regaining her composure, glared at me, prompting me to reveal the truth. Oh, didn't I mention? I happen to be a company president. Indeed, I was a company president. My dream had always been to own my own company. To achieve this, I worked for several years, saving and studying, and then started my own business.
Sadie is the first person I've truly loved, so I want to be with her.
Kevin, affirming his words, truly joined my company. Together, we grew the business, eventually expanding overseas. Kevin's business trip was an executive to our overseas branch. And John, he's studying business in college to one day take over my company.
Sadie, a president? That can't be true.
Megan, unaware of my position, was still in disbelief.
Megan never took an interest in Mom's work.
John coldly stated this. And his voice, it reminded me oddly of Kevin.
Really? You never noticed?
Even when the kids were younger, I worked from home as much as possible. Even with Kevin's help, it was a busy life balancing work, house chores, and childcare.
I saw Mom working hard every day. I even heard her discussing complex business matters over the phone. We never lacked anything financially. Even if we didn't know she was the president, we knew she was earning well.
But you never gave me an allowance when I asked.
You spent your allowance within a week, and Mom would give you more if you explained the need. She just didn't hand out money thoughtlessly like Grandpa and Grandma.
John took out his mobile phone and showed them a video. It was an interview I did on TV.
Mom's famous enough to be featured on TV. I thought you knew and came back to cash in on that.
John was always cheeky, always acting superior as a younger brother.
When did Megan ever treat me like a brother? You just saw me as an enemy because I'm Mom's son, and technically, Mom and I aren't even related by blood. Did you really think I'd listen to my so-called sister?
Megan fell silent at John's words, though her eyes still glared at us with resentment. I wanted to be Megan's real mom, even if we weren't related by blood, but that didn't happen. Now I don't want to be Megan's mom anymore. In fact, I feel nothing but disgust.
This can't be happening. It's all lies.
From now on, no more support, no more help. You're on your own.
Kevin declared this as we stood up, paid our share, and left the restaurant.
My life is ruined because of Grandma and Grandpa.
That's our line.
If only Megan wasn't here.
We could hear their loud argument as we left. Kevin and I then returned home safely. Our home, with its spacious yard, was peaceful as we discussed what to do with it. Please, tell me where the new house is. Abigail and Ethan reached out to us, but we chose to ignore them. After we left the restaurant, Megan, Abigail, and Ethan apparently had a fight. During the altercation, Megan broke some property and assaulted an intervening staff member, leading to her arrest. Additionally, it was revealed that Megan had been engaged in marriage fraud. It seems she was gallivanting at night, flirting with numerous boyfriends, hinting at marriage.
And that led to the filing of complaints.
Yes, and that compounded her charges, allowing Noah's dad to secure custody. I shared. After moving to our new house, Megan's ex-husband brought Noah and the other children to visit and filled us in on Megan's situation. Seeing Noah happily living with his dad brought us relief. Despite repeated calls from Abigail and Ethan pleading for help, we remained silent. Dependent on our support, their lifestyle plummeted when we withdrew it. Having overspent on Megan, they had no savings and were now facing debt from the damages Megan caused at the restaurant. Relying solely on their old age pension, they were forced into part-time work in their old age.
Actually, they even showed up at my college.
Are you all right?
Yeah, I noticed them immediately and called the police before any contact could be made.
John's calm demeanor was a relief. The part-time job they had also ended due to the police incident, pushing them further into poverty. In stark contrast to Abigail and Ethan, our lives were thriving. My company's successful international expansion led to rapid growth. Despite the busyness, Kevin and I enjoyed fulfilling days.
Oh, by the way, I've got a girlfriend. I'll bring her over to meet you, okay?
John introduced us to Mia, a kind and sincere person, the opposite of Megan. It was too soon to judge, but seeing them happily together, I felt Mia could be trusted with John.
Sadie, once work calms down, how about we go on a trip?
Sounds wonderful. I smiled at Kevin's suggestion, looking forward to the trip and focusing on my work. Years passed. John joined the company as my successor, working hard every day. Mia, wanting to support John like Kevin did, also joined our company. The couple now lived nearby, happily married.
It turns out Mia also grew up in the same residential childcare facility as you.
This revelation brought Mia and me closer. Today, John and Mia were visiting. I prepared a delicious meal to welcome them. During their visit, Mia shared the news of our soon-to-arrive grandchild, filling us with joy and excitement.